Hello, good morning. I am outside today. It's a nice morning out here in Las Vegas. And actually, we've sold this house. So in about a month, I won't be able to do any of these out here. I'll be somewhere else. So thought I'd sit outside today. Got my tea. How about you guys? How y'all doing today? Who's out there? You want to do a little checking in? I'll give us a little time before we actually get started. I'd like to know who's here today. Hello, McKay. Nice to see you. I see some little hearts. Hey, Burton. Good morning. Nice to see you here. Melody. Let's see. There we go. Good morning. And Lisa. I love it. Where am I? I am in, I was going to say Kansas City. No, I'm not. I get confused where I am. I'm actually outside in my backyard in Las Vegas. And before y'all got on the camera, I think I was just starting out to say we've sold this house. And so I'll have a few more times to be outside in this backyard, but then I'll go to my new house and do it sometimes outside. So it's kind of a nice morning, not too hot yet today. So anyway, just sitting outside here. I'm hoping y'all, I don't know, you could tell me, is the picture okay? Is it clear enough that y'all can see? I can't really tell the clarity on it. So yeah, we're going to be talking about finances today. You know, we've been focusing on what I'm calling the confidence mirror. So when you look in the mirror, what do you see in regard to these 7 areas of confidence? And today is our financial confidence. And so that's what we'll talk about once we, like I said, after I leave a couple of minutes for everybody to get on. Thank you, Burton. I love that. I've missed you the last couple of weeks. You must be working hard and really busy. Has school started in Kansas City? I think it starts this week. A couple of my granddaughters, I think maybe they start on Wednesday. So, Lisa Marsh, where are you? Check in, y'all, and tell me, where are you located? Rosemarie Capranica. Well, hey, how are you? Good morning. So, where is everybody? Let's do a little check-in across the country this week. So, the kids start in Kansas City this week. Okay, cool. I was out yesterday afternoon about 3:15 and had forgotten that school had started and all these buses were out, and I usually take a different way when school is in because I like to avoid all the buses, right? So it's like, okay. Lisa, yeah, Marilyn, and I think you told me that before, so I apologize that I did not remember that. And Lisa, I'm just going to mention to you, I'm just throwing out there for anybody that's interested, over the next 6 months, I'm going to be looking at expanding our Fun Fearless Female group and lunches and things across the country. So if you are interested in possibly being a local host for your area, I would love to chat with you. So send me a personal message. Good morning, Miss Kathy. How are you? I see another Kansas City gal checking in. Nice to have you on. And McKay, you're in New York. Oh, wow. That is cool. I don't think I've ever had somebody from New York before. All right. Hi, Lisa. Good morning. Anybody want to be on? Hey. Like, yay. So, Lisa or Kathy or any of y'all want to come on the show this morning? I'm not sure why, but sometimes it will ask me. It'll give me and say, bring them on camera. So I don't know if it's people that are on iPhones or whatever. But anyway, sometimes, but it doesn't ask me for all of y'all. So, all right, well, let's get started. So, interesting to me is that sometimes when I'm holding lunches and stuff, and last week was my week of lunches, as y'all know, in Kansas City, and as we were talking, sort of the financial thing came up, and I had shared just a little bit of my story, just a little bit. You're on your phone. I love it, Lisa. I have to tell y'all, I woke up at 5 this morning, and all of a sudden it dawned on me, like, oh my gosh, I've got my show at 7:30. I kind of was in the Kansas City mode where it's not till 9:30, and my brain hadn't caught up with the fact that I'm back here. And so I was like, oh, I've wondered now what happens one time if I oversleep. I guess I'd just show y'all a picture and do an audio because no one would want to see me I don't like to see myself in the mirror before I get dressed for the day. So I really get that I'm rather scary myself. All right. So as I was telling y'all, I was sharing a little bit about the financial story, and I had one of the gals come up to me, and really she was quite touched and had tears in her eyes. And she says, I just have to tell you that it was so nice to hear that somebody else has issues. She says, I just thought everything was perfect with you and you had this great life and nothing had ever happened. Well, y'all, the truth is everybody has stuff. Everybody's gone through something. I mean, I can't think of one person that I know that hasn't been through something, and it could be a financial crisis. It could be losing a job, which does enter into finances, right? It could be a death in the family, but we all have stuff in our life. But that stuff that we go through does not define who you are. It's really, what are you going to do with that stuff? And in particular today, one of the 7 categories in our confidence mirror is finances. And so I actually, a few years ago, when we were coming out of our financial thing, actually it's been a process because we just now, I said a 5-year plan, we're now in the 6th year and most of it's coming together, but then that's what I was sharing last week, that it took a little longer than the 5 years, but I'm just so pleased that it's 6 years. It could have been 10 years. The main thing was that we got through it, and God is good and faithful and all of those things. But as I was going through it, I wrote a little ebook, and if you would like it, I would love to give it to you just for free. You just need to go on and send me a private message, but I need your actual email. I'm not sure that I could actually give it to you through Facebook or through Messenger, because I'm not sure how all that works. But if you want it and you want to go on, send me a message and give me your actual email, I would love to send you that little ebook. So the main thing is when you're going through stuff, and in particular financial things, it is really easy to let that affect how you feel about yourself. It does affect your self-esteem and your self-confidence, because you begin feeling, like, what's the matter with me? And, how was I so stupid to make those dumb mistakes? And you can do some major, major damage to yourself by going down that road. And we all start there. But here's the thing. You must catch yourself. As soon as you start down that road of, maybe and I'll tell you, okay, so I'm going to give you the little brief history so that I've lived through this, so that's why I feel I can talk about it. I am not a financial expert. I'm not a CPA or an accountant or any of that stuff. All I can tell you is how we got through, and we've had more than one. I think we've actually had 3, and this last one was the worst in that, and I think it was back in 2007. We had a big, thriving management company, real estate management company. I don't know if y'all know, I've been a broker in Kansas for 40 years. And basically, I'm the designated broker for all of our companies that we've had. And then Bill runs the day-to-day. So then I get to go do my music and all the things that I feel God's called me to. But I'm the on-record broker. But so we were sort of at the height of our business. We had an office in Oklahoma, I think, and we had an office in Texas, outside of Dallas. And then we had our main home office, which was Kansas City. And we had one big client, and this client was in Dallas, and he had 3 management companies that managed all of his stuff across the country. Good morning, Lawana, and good morning, Charlene. And what happened was that this particular man that owned this stuff did not run things, let's say he had a different philosophy, than what we do and what Bill did. And he, on the other 2 companies, they were in Dallas already, so he had them sort of, as you might say, under his thumb. And he just didn't run things very ethically. And Bill said for 10 years, he said, the day's going to come when he is going to ask me to do something that I know I can't do, that is unethical or unlawful or whatever. And I said, well, when it happens, you just say no, and then we just move on. And he says, well, we'll lose our business. And I said, well, that's just the way it is, So that is exactly what happened. He basically called, told Bill that he wanted him to do ABC, and Bill said, I just really can't do that. And so he said, well, your contract is gone. You've got 30 days. And all management, in case y'all don't know that, in real estate management companies only have 30-day contracts. You know, you hope they last a long time, but basically, if you're not doing a good job, they can fire you and give you a 30-day notice. So that may be all TMI more than you want to know, but it sort of sets you up for the fact that, you know, we had 3 offices and many employees and really a great business, but we had not diversified, and so we pretty much had all of our eggs in one basket. Actually, we had like 3 clients, but this guy had 85% of our business. So in 30 days, we basically were out of business. We had, like I said, 2 smaller clients. So we had to shut down our offices, let off a lot of people. And that was the hardest. It really was, just letting go of the people. And we had multiple 6 figures of debt from the company, and I mean, really just serious debt. And the credit scores, we went down into the 500s. And yeah, it's just, it's not a fun place to be. I mean, the truth is, it's just not a fun place to be. But you have to decide, what are you going to do? So when Bill told me this, I sort of went into my shell. So what I usually do is I retreat into myself for a little while. And so, the basic pity party. And so I told him, I said, okay, let's just get through the weekend. Let's just not even talk about it. And on Monday, we'll figure it out and we'll start moving through it. And so that's what we did. My sister was actually living with me at that time, which was great. And so she and I watched movies, and I ate popcorn and ice cream all weekend. Of course, by Monday, I was feeling like a big bloated, little, a little piggy. But on Monday, we decided, okay, now what do we do? So then, that's part of the process. So when I say to you, you are not your stuff, here's what I mean. You are not your credit score. You are not the car you drive. You are not the debt you owe. You are not the house you live in. All of those things can change and are temporary, and you can move through all of those things. The place to go inside yourself is, who are you? And even better is, whose are you? Whether you have money or don't, whether you have stuff, lots of collection of houses and cars and all that, or whether you don't, doesn't define who you are. You are still a child of God. In my case, and us ladies, a daughter or a son of the Most High God. That doesn't change based on what you owe and what you have and what you don't have. So if you can get your brain to come to that place, and I will tell you, the other thing is and you are not your job. Absolutely, Cheyenne, because that's an important one, and particularly for single women who are their only provider, and for men who are the main provider for their household. I mean, it was really hard on my husband, because pretty much their whole identity is based on their job, right? And so y'all know where I'm coming from there. So the first thing is, when you're in those situations, and like I said, it wouldn't have to be financial, it could be any of those other issues, is really go to your inner place, go right into your heart and into your soul, and like, okay, I am a child of God. That has not changed. I am still 100 totally unconditionally loved. Because once you can go there, then the rest is just stuff, and you can work through it. And part of the what you think about, you bring about. You've heard that. The Bible says, so a man thinketh in his heart, so he is. So if you start down that road of thinking about how bad you are and allowing yourself to define yourself, right, in those negative ways, that just goes on, and that is a cancer that will eat away at you. And we've talked a good bit about negative self-talk, but man, when you're in financial crisis, negative self-talk can overwhelm you. So one of the things that I found, and I'm actually looking at my my little ebook here because I want to cover a couple of things. So I think one of the first steps is to decide that you can rise above it. You can rise all of it. As long as you're alive, there's still hope, right? There is, for the Lord, Jeremiah 29:11 says, "For I know the plans I have for you, plans for a future and a hope. So no matter where you are and what you're going through and what the circumstances may look like, God's not done with you yet. As long as you're still alive, there's still hope. There's still a plan. And so start looking for that. And I found that being thankful that I'm not by myself. It's like, was I thankful that we lost the company? No. Was I thankful that the guy pulled the management contract? And now I look back and I am thankful that he did, because we knew it was going to happen sometime. So it might as well have happened then, and now we're through it, right? But more than that, it's really about being thankful that that God has more for you, that there is another plan, that he's already gone before you and he's got something in mind for you. So as you go through that, just look within yourself and just say, thank you, Lord. I know this is not the end. I know it's not over for me. I know, Lord, that moving to this small apartment is not the end. And I have a really sweet dear friend that just called me like 2 weeks ago. And she said, Delinda, I just have to tell you that that your story has been encouraging to me, because she just went through it. She lost her house. It was upside down, and so there were some issues with that. She now is just in a little small apartment and all, and she says, but I'm working through it. I'm gonna get out from all this. And I said, yeah, girlfriend, you absolutely are. So it's really just, look, okay, I'm not dead yet. There's still hope for me. There's a place for me to go. God has more in store. So start thanking him even in the middle of that, because I think a heart that's full of gratitude is a heart and a soul that God really can work with. So I cannot separate them. So I don't always go down and really talk as much about the faith of the journey, but that is always where it goes to me. But particularly in this, I think if you're trying to go it by yourself, it's doubly hard. And if you can go to that place, or allow yourself to go to that place where you acknowledge that there's more out there, that he has a plan. Say, like, okay, Lord, I know you've got a plan. This is not it. And then, so being grateful that you're not by yourself. The other thing is, be kind to yourself. Y'all, don't beat up on yourselves. And that goes back to the self-talk, but also just be kind to yourself. It's hard, and allow yourself. You can even have little mini pity parties. You can have a day. Well, I wouldn't give it a day. Take a couple of hours and just, let yourself cry. Let yourself be sad. It's hard if you're having to let go of your home and some of the things, and, maybe you have to get rid of the car you have now that you love, so that you can, just get something that's easier to manage. But that doesn't mean that's the last car you're going to have, right? Nothing of this is forever. Like I said, as long as we're still living and breathing, there is still hope, and there's still more ahead for us. And it really helps to look at the facts and then get unemotional with them. Let go of that emotional attachment. Sometimes we get so tied to our house. When we built our first house, I've been so blessed. I think of Paul when he said in there, I know what it's like to have much, and I know what it's like to have less, and I've learned to be content with whatever it is, because we have had major highs, just more than I ever even imagined in my whole life. And then we went low and lost and had to release a lot of things. And for a couple of years, I was just in the process of releasing all those attachments to the emotions and the physical stuff. Y'all know what I mean? You kind of following me there? So look at the facts, okay? You need to really look at your situation. So and we're talking finances. So look at your finances. Where are you? What are the facts? And don't go down the road of tying yourself of, why did I do this, blah blah blah. Let's just say, okay, here's what I owe, and really make yourself a list. I'm talking about, write it out, put it on the computer, whatever. Here's who I owe, here's how much I owe, here's how much I'm supposed to pay every month, and really look at everything. Look at your total financial picture, because you cannot get over it or through it or out of it until you really know what it is. And it can be darn scary. I about shocked myself that I just hadn't paid attention. I just had not paid attention. So was it our fault that we lost the contract? No. Matter of fact, I'm proud of Bill. I'm really proud of him because he would not compromise his beliefs in order to keep the contract. And so we just, together just decided, we're going to make it through. And that's what we went through it together. And we decided that we were going to do it together. There was not going to be any blame on anybody, but we were just going to look at things realistically. And then I think, though, as part of that, it's important to own up to it. So when I looked at my list of all the debt and all the ramifications, and then, what do we have to do? We had to close the offices, which means, getting out of the lease contracts and the copier leases, even stuff like that. What did it really mean to close these offices? And then Bill was the one that talked to the people because he was the one that worked with them every day. And it really, yes, Charlene, that's interesting that it has, and it is just stuff. And when you can finally get to that place, it's so freeing. It's like, oh my gosh. So I'm just not tied to that stuff now. So owning up to it. And it's like, okay, we didn't cause ourselves to lose the contract, thereby have to close everything and lose the business, right? Or shut down the business. But should I have paid more attention along the way? You bet. Did anybody else run up that debt? As long as you have a lot of money coming in, you just kind of put it on the credit cards and you figure, well, I'm just going to pay it, right? Because none of us start out saying that we're not going to pay our debt. You don't go buy a big screen TV thinking, well, I'm not going to pay that after I charge it. I don't believe anybody does that. I mean, there might be a few, but none of y'all that are in my life and circles, we would never do that. You would never go into something with the purpose of not paying it. I just don't believe that you would. So we all want to live up to and do our best in all of these situations. So, but it is important to accept responsibility. And that's, I speak a lot about that. It's the choices that we make. And nobody else chose to let those credit cards get up to where they were. Nobody else made those choices. So, yes, this was now our debt to have to take care of. And so we went about a plan. And so if I could give you, so I'm going to say, be kind to yourself, be real and truthful to yourself. Look at the facts in black and white and don't be emotionally tied to it. Get the information that you need because your information is your power. And what I mean by that is, good morning, Ursula. We're talking about finances today. I see you're on there, or you're just now saying good morning. When you get the information about things, then you can figure out what to do. So rather than waiting and being reactionary, I decided to be proactive. So I initiated the phone calls. So I called the credit card companies. I called the mortgage holder. All of those things that I knew were getting ready to just go right down the tube, I chose to call them. And so rather than waiting and being on that other end and what are they going to say to me and are they going to be mean to me and all of that stuff. So be proactive is an idea that I would give you. Call and find out the situations and not, just be honest. And y'all, that's the other thing. Just be honest about it. Just tell them the situation. You lost your job. Somebody was in the hospital and you have, all this medical debt. I don't know what your situation was or might have been or whatever, but just reach out and say, okay, here's my situation. What can I do? Now, different ones will tell you different things. In the beginning, they may say, well, there's really nothing we can do for you. And the funniest one was I called them before and they said, well, we really can't help you. A few of them, we really can't help you until you stop making your payments. And I said, well, that's going to happen this month. I can't make a payment on this thing this month. And so they said, well, just as soon as you stop making the payments, then, get in touch with us and we'll let you know what your choices are. But on one hand, it's like, well, all right then, if that's, what you wanted. It was kind of a crazy thing. I just didn't get it. But just, you'll find that if you are taking the proactive approach and just saying, here's where we are, what do you suggest, what are my ramifications, what can I do, and then seek some help, find someone that you can talk to. We actually, one of the credit card companies actually said, well, we can't help you unless you go see a debt counselor. Now, what I found out is I think every state, every city has a credit counseling program through their state or their city that you don't have to pay for. It's free. You make an appointment, and is it a little embarrassing to go in? Sure. But the point is, look at it this way. It's like, go and say, you know what? I am taking forward steps to find a way out of this situation. What is it going to take? What does it look like? And so I did. I made the appointment, and I went and I laid it out for the lady, and she just shook her head. She says, honey, I don't think you have much choice here. I mean, I think your best bet is just to file bankruptcy. And here's the deal, guys. You also are not your bankruptcy. If that is where you have been or where you're looking towards, I never recommend, I'm never going to tell you what to do, but I just want you to know that whatever your choice is, make an informed choice. Get an outside person to help you look at that. And whatever choice you make, own it, and don't feel shame in that. Okay? Don't feel shame. If you're really doing the best you can do and you're trying to reach out and find a way through this, and with God's help, you will. You'll make it through. I don't know what it looks like for you, but it is something, it is, again, it's a process. It's not just something that happens overnight. And by accepting it and working through it, it's going to help you over these months and possibly years, because when you're in serious debt, it takes years to get through it. So like I said, we put ourselves on a 5-year plan, and because of some other business relationship things we did not file bankruptcy. Sometimes I think maybe we would have, because in 7 years it's all wiped away. But you need to get the advice that's the best for you. But then the thing that was cool about this meeting with her, and we did seek an attorney. We did go talk to an attorney about what our best thing was. And again, sometimes when you are so in the middle of this and you're in such a fog and you just can't even see, when you reach out to an expert, to an attorney, to a financial counselor, to someone like that, they help you see the picture more in that black and white thing, so you can detach your emotions from it and give yourself credit. Again, be kind. Give yourself credit that you are making the effort, that you are being proactive. So I'm going to slide down here. So as you're collecting all your information, again, like I said, it's really, really important to look at everything. Look at your assets, look at your debt, look at everything in the picture, so you see a black and white picture of things. And of course, then you are going to have credit card companies or whoever that are going to call you, right? So what I found out is by taking these steps, so when I would talk to one of the financial institutions and they would ask me a question, and I would say to them, well, I have sought out advice from the such and such credit counseling people, and I just told them what they told me. They've suggested I go bankruptcy. We're looking at that as an option. At that point, then the credit card companies do start really paying attention, that you obviously are in some serious thing. They take you a little bit more seriously. And again, don't lie. Be truthful. Just be truthful with where you are. Maybe when you go, they'll show you, the credit counseling people, they'll show you an avenue that you could possibly take. So the beginning time is really just information gathering. I'll just tell you all a funny story. So I also, a way to protect my heart and to protect my brain, is that I decided that I wasn't going to answer credit card calls all the time. Now part of it I did, like I said, I anticipated and called them ahead of time, but you're still going to get some calls, and after a while, you can recognize what calls. So one of them called, and I was only going to answer a couple of those calls a day. I just wasn't going to be on the phone all day listening to creditors and all that kind of stuff, because that also just wears you out and makes you feel bad. So I just chose not to. So one of those calls came in, and I thought, okay, so I answered the phone, and they said da-da-da-da, and, calling from wherever it was. And I said, hi, how are you? And then he says, I have to go through this whole, and so then you just listen. You just kind of go on hold, and they say, this whole disclaimer, and they're collecting for debt. So just listen to it. They have to do it. So don't get mad and yell at them. That's their job. They have to do it, right? So when he finished, I said, well, thank you so much for sharing. I said, by the way, I only take one of these phone calls today, and today you're the lucky day. So what would you you like to talk about? And he just laughed. I mean, they're like, I would hate that job. That would be such a hard job to do. So he had a little laugh. I had a little laugh. We chatted. I gave him whatever information he needed, and that was it. So you just are not your stuff, you guys. You're not all of those things that you surround yourself with. And the other side is true. You may live in a beautiful, fancy home and drive the great car, and everything's going great in your life. But let me also say, you are not your stuff. Who you are, your character, the reflection of your heart is still who you are. And that's what you want people to see. It doesn't really matter all that other stuff. Does that make sense? I mean, are y'all kind of following me on this? I really just want y'all to know that it's all okay. I'm looking here down at my my notes. That one of the other things that happens when you get in those situations is you begin to get rid of the things that aren't important. And also, if you are taking care of other people, as in your grown children, that type of thing, and you go through these kind of places, what you'll find is you may have to have one of those conversations with them. And actually, we did. We had been able to that point to do a lot of just kind of extra things for our kids. Paying wasn't the smartest thing to do for a number of those years, because they were certainly old enough and more than capable of taking care of themselves. But because we could, we did. It was really hard for me to go to them and say, by the way, in 30 days you have to start paying your own cell phone bill. And we weren't doing a lot, but a couple of those things. And you know what was so cool is at the end of that time, they just stepped up and they took over those few things that we had been paying for them. So it was a way of releasing them, and maybe in some ways we actually were enabling them to not be as strong and not take care of themselves. And I'll tell you that one of the coolest things was when Alicia bought her first car all by herself, no cosigner, no anything. She was so proud of herself, and I was so proud of her. And she said, Mom, I feel like a real adult, like got my first car and you didn't have to help me. And it was a big moment for her. And the truth is, we probably delayed that for her because we did pay for things longer than we should have, So, and again, but those sometimes when we allow other people to step up and take responsibility for their life. So I hope this has been helpful. I hope that maybe you got some information that might help you if you're in the middle of that, or if you've been through it and it still pulls on your heart and you feel kind of like a failure. Y'all, I've heard women say this. I've heard men say this, that they feel like a failure because they had to do these various things. You are not. If you're not failing, doing some things wrong along the way, then you're just not living. We're all going to make mistakes. We all could make better choices, right? So own up to it, take responsibility, and then just let it go. I'm not saying obsess and beat up on yourself and say, how awful am I? I'm a terrible person. No, it's like, I made some mistakes. I had way too much debt. We bought things on time we didn't need to. So we really try to live now on a pretty much a cash basis, and it really helps. And yes, Lori, you are so right. God is so good. Without the Lord walking us through this and helping keeping that I was still his child, it didn't change at all. I didn't, his love for me and our relationship, well, actually, I got stronger because I had to focus in, and that's where my strength came from. But his love and stuff didn't change when I had from having the big house to a small house to having money. Keep that in mind, because you know what? God works in mysterious ways, and I'm telling you, I don't know, maybe someday I should give a whole big workshop on this so I could even tell you some of the miraculous stories of what God has done. I mean, 6 months into it, we got a phone call out of the blue. I mean, truthfully, never called or heard of this company. Justin, our son, was one of the 2 employees still with our company, and he called a phone call, and I don't know who this guy is or really what he wants, but it sounds kind of important. So my son was really listening to the spirit inside himself, and so Bill immediately called this guy, and long story short is that's why he's working in Kansas City right now. Was somebody, the block was looking for someone to come in and run their management. They'd never done property management, and they wanted somebody to come in and start and run a management division in Kansas City, and Bill was the one. And truly, that was that was like the clouds opening up, and this job just dropped down. It was such a blessing. And who could have thought or imagined that was one of those moments? Like, I could just never even thought of that answer. So you don't know. Courageous. Know that God's already gone before you. Whatever you're in the middle of, you can get in, around, or through, whatever it takes. Keep your faith. Know that the Lord is with you. And I just wish you blessings on all that you're doing. And if you want a copy of this ebook that Choose You, you are not your to you. Like I said, free of charge. I don't want to charge you anything for that. And Lori says, God loves you, and so do we. Faith definitely grows when we depend on him for our needs. Absolutely. That is so true. And hey, Dave Hopkins, that's either you or Lindsay on there. Thank you, Kathy. I appreciate that. I love you guys. Thank you so much for giving your time. As I try to remember to tell you all every week, it's like your time is the most valuable asset that you have. And I so appreciate that you choose to spend that time with me. I really love you. So thank you so much. And as I like to close, remember that life is not a matter of chance. It's a matter of choice. Choose wisely. Go out and make it a great week. Go out and make the life that you want to have, and make a difference as you go. Bye, y'all. Mwah! Love ya.